To Dr. VFuller3, the athletic director at Tennessee State University. And of course, Dr. Fuller, before we had our break, we were talking about some of the efforts that will have to be used in order to encourage more of our young people to establish goals. But let's look at the plant that you operate at Tennessee State University as the athletic director, and give our audience some idea of exactly what we're talking about when we talk about the athletic program at Tennessee State University, some of the sports and some of the issues and that kind of information.
One of the things that excited me about Tennessee State University, which I hear people talk about so passionately as TSU, is the broad-based program. Not only do we have football, men's and women's basketball, we have tennis, we have golf, we have softball, track and field, and we have 14 different sports, 7 men and 7 women. As an athletic director coming in, you want to look at program or the programmatic aspect of it and say, how in the world can you have all of those programs to be successful at one time? One of the things that I think is looking at broad-based, when you look at broad-based programs, you have to put a system in place as it relates to funding, as it relates to program administration. We also have to look at the personnel needs, and also the big issue right now is budgets as it relates to fiscal integrity and also gender equity. Equity is a big component in which we have to take a look at, simply because there's no other sport that equalizes football on the women's side. So we have to make sure that we provide equitable opportunities, not only to men, but also the underrepresented. And in this case, a lot of cases, it's women and other ethnic or minority groups.
And so there's a real concern in terms of trying to make sure that you have enough finance. I think you mentioned the fact that football sort of outweighs everything, and it sort of mess up the formula in terms of gender, does it not?
Well, when you look at gender equity and you look at the squad size of football, I think as an athletic director, you're looking at ways where you can be both economically feasible, and you can also make sure the budget is effective. The state of Tennessee has some systems in place in which you can look at some equity funding. My goal and my job is to make sure those opportunities are equitable. One of the things I'll look at right away are media publications. Do we provide media publications for all of our sports? The other thing I'll look at is locker room facilities. I'll also look at uniforms, clothing. I'll look at travel schedule. I'll look at dollars. I'll look at per diems per team, etc. You know, those are some of the ways that you can come in compliance. I'll look at training tables. Are we offering training tables for one sport and not the other? Or will I look at more of an extensive meal plan? Those are the kind of things that you can look at right away in your own facility and you can control.
Now, does the NCAA require, you said the kind of things that you look up when you talk about compliance, has the NCAA gone on record in terms of demanding that these things happen in terms of gender equity or what?
I was part of the 1993 NCAA Gender Equity Task Force, which was formulated by the NCAA. There were 48 members on that committee, and it was probably the hardest committee I've ever worked on. And we came up with a set of operating principles and guidelines to provide to institutions. That is the